pretty crazy insults. And then there's another phone call where he's on the phone with Mariah talking about Future will just blow his beans in any girl that wants it.
The internet just exploded. New footage just dropped showing Future and Young Thug's girlfriend together, and people are losing their minds. Now, before you jump to conclusions, this isn't just some random celebrity sighting. This is way deeper than that. Because the history between Future, Young Thug, and the women in their lives reads like a movie script nobody would believe. And this new footage, it's opening up old wounds that a lot of people thought were healed. So what's really going on here? Why is this footage causing such a massive reaction? And what does this mean for two of Atlanta's biggest legends? Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see this whole situation.
Just when I thought I was out, Thug pulls me back in, man. We got another leak, another day, another leak from the Atlanta Chronology. The whole box set, okay, has just dropped, and this has been a long-awaited guest star, Future.
Let's get one thing straight from the jump. Future and Young Thug go way back. We're talking about two men who helped build the sound of Atlanta together. Two artists who came up in the same circles, ran with similar crews, and at one point were closer than most brothers ever get. They made music together that changed the game. They supported each other's come-up. They were supposed to be locked in for life. But somewhere along the way, things got complicated. And when I say complicated, I mean messy in ways that only happen when money, fame, loyalty, and women all get tangled up together. Now this new footage shows Future and a woman identified as Young Thug's girlfriend at what looks like an industry event. They're talking, they're laughing, they look comfortable with each other, and immediately the internet detectives went to work. Twitter exploded with theories. Instagram comment sections turned into war zones. People started picking sides before anyone even knew the full story. Some folks are saying this is disrespectful, that Future crossed a line, that there's a code between brothers and Future just violated it. Others are defending Future, saying people are making something out of nothing, that grown adults can talk to whoever they want. But here's what nobody's really talking about. The reason this footage hits so hard isn't just about what's happening now, it's about everything that's happened before. Future has a reputation. We all know this. The man has been linked to more women than most people can count. He's got kids with multiple women. His songs are literally about not getting emotionally attached and keeping things moving. That's his brand. That's what he raps about. That's what made him famous. Songs like Mask Off and Life is Good paint a picture of a man who lives by his own rules and doesn't apologize for it. And for years, fans celebrated that. They called him a legend. They quoted his lyrics. They treated his lifestyle like something to aspire to. But when that same energy gets directed towards someone connected to another major artist, especially someone who was once considered family, suddenly the conversation changes. Suddenly it's not just Future being Future, it's Future potentially disrespecting a brother. Young Thug's situation makes this even more complicated. Right now, Thug isn't in a position to respond the way he might want to. He's dealing with serious legal issues that have kept him away from his normal life. The YSLRICO case has been dominating headlines for years now, and while he recently got released with a plea deal, his movement is restricted. He's on probation. He's got conditions he has to follow. He can't just jump on social media and address this the way artists usually handle drama. He can't drop a diss track without potentially violating terms that could send him right back to jail. So he's essentially watching this play out from a position where his hands are tied. And that's got to be frustrating beyond belief. The woman at the center of this footage adds another layer to the whole situation. From what we know, she and Young Thug have been connected for a while now. She's been seen supporting him through his legal battles. She's posted about him on social media. She's been to court appearances. By all accounts, she's been standing by him during one of the hardest periods of his life. So seeing her in footage with Future, looking friendly and comfortable, raises all kinds of questions. Is this innocent? Is this just two people who happen to know each other having a conversation at an event? Or is there something more going on? And does it even matter what the truth is when the perception alone is causing this much damage? Let's talk about Atlanta hip-hop culture for a minute, because that context matters here. Atlanta isn't just another music city. It's a place where relationships and loyalty mean everything. The city has a tight-knit music community where everybody knows everybody. Where favors get remembered and disrespect never gets forgotten. Where your reputation is built on how you move and who you move with. Future and Young Thug both came up in this environment. They both know the unwritten rules. They both understand that certain lines exist for a reason. So when footage like this drops, it's not just gossip. It's a potential violation of codes that these men have lived by their entire careers. Future's track record with women connected to other rappers isn't exactly clean either. There's been rumors and allegations over the years about him getting involved with women who had relationships with other artists. Some of those situations caused public beef. Some of them got addressed in songs. Some of them just simmered under the surface, creating tension that never fully got resolved. So when this new footage drops, it's not happening in a vacuum. People are looking at Future's history and seeing a pattern. They're connecting dots that may or may not actually connect. But perception becomes reality when enough people believe it. Social media has turned this into a full-blown event. Within hours of the footage dropping, it had millions of views. Blogs picked it up. Commentary channels started breaking it down frame by frame. People started creating memes. Others started defending their favorite artist. The conversation split into camps. Team Future versus Team Thug. People arguing about loyalty. People debating what the footage actually shows. People bringing up old drama to support their arguments. It became less about what actually happened and more about what people want to believe happened. Here's where things get even more interesting. Some people close to the situation have started speaking out. Not directly, but through subliminal posts and carefully worded statements. Associates of Young Thug have been liking tweets that call out Future. People in Future's camp have been dismissing the whole thing as manufactured drama. Neither artist has directly addressed it yet, but the silence from both sides is speaking volumes. In hip-hop, silence can mean a lot of things. It can mean you're unbothered. It can mean you're planning your response. It can mean you're trying to keep things from escalating. Or it can mean you're in a position where you can't respond, even if you want to. The timing of this footage is suspicious to some people. It drops right when Young Thug is trying to rebuild his life after his legal situation. Right when he's trying to get back to music and reclaim his position in the industry. Right when he's at his most vulnerable. Some folks think this isn't a coincidence. They believe the footage was held and released strategically to cause maximum damage. Others think that's giving people too much credit, and that sometimes things just happen without some grand conspiracy behind them. But in the social media age, where everything is content and drama equals views, it's not crazy to question the timing. Let's look at what this means for Future's reputation. He's always marketed himself as the guy who doesn't care what people think. The guy who lives by his own code and makes no apologies. His fans love him for that energy. But there's a difference between being unapologetically yourself and being disrespectful to people you once called brothers. Future has spent years building an image of loyalty to Atlanta, of being a real one who came from nothing and stayed true to where he's from. If this situation makes people question that loyalty, it could actually damage the brand he's worked so hard to build. Because hip-hop fans will forgive a lot of things, but they don't forgive fake loyalty. Young Thug's position in all this is complicated. On one hand, he's supposed to be the bigger person. He's supposed to rise above drama and focus on his freedom and his music. He's supposed to show that he learned from his legal troubles and that he's moving differently now. But on the other hand, he's human. He's watching footage of someone he considered family potentially disrespecting him during a time when he can't fully defend himself. That's got to hurt on levels most people can't imagine, and his fans are watching to see how he handles it, because how he responds, or doesn't respond, will say a lot about where he is mentally and emotionally right now. The woman in the footage hasn't made any public statements either. She's caught in the middle of a situation that's blown up beyond anything she probably expected. Whatever actually happened at that event, whether it was innocent conversation or something more, she's now being talked about by millions of people who don't know her and don't care about her side of the story. She's being judged, criticized, defended, and analyzed by strangers on the internet. And depending on how she responds or doesn't respond, she could become a permanent part of hip-hop drama history. This situation reveals something bigger about hip-hop culture and how we consume celebrity drama. We've gotten so used to treating real people's lives like entertainment that we forget there are actual emotions and relationships at stake. We see footage of two people talking and immediately create entire narratives about betrayal and disrespect without knowing any context. We choose sides based on which artist we prefer rather than what actually happened. We turn complex human situations into simple good versus evil stories because that's easier to understand and more fun to argue about. Future and Young Thug's relationship over the years has had its ups and downs even before this. There were moments where they seemed inseparable, collaborating on tracks and showing up for each other publicly, but there were also periods where people noticed they weren't interacting as much, where collaborations stopped happening, where the public shows of support became less frequent. Most people assumed it was just busy schedules and different career paths. But looking back now, some folks are wondering if there was tension brewing under the surface that nobody knew about. If this footage is just the latest chapter in a friendship that's been deteriorating for years, Atlanta's music scene is watching this closely because it affects more than just these two artists. If Future and Young Thug's relationship is genuinely damaged, that creates ripples throughout the whole city's hip-hop community. Other artists will have to choose sides or carefully navigate staying neutral. Producers and collaborators who work with both might find themselves in awkward positions. Events and shows might become complicated if both artists are supposed to be there. The whole ecosystem gets affected when two major players have serious beef. The business side of this can't be ignored either. Both Future and Young Thug are not just artists, they're brands worth millions of dollars. They have business partnerships, endorsement deals, and financial interests that depend on their public image. Drama like this can affect those relationships. Companies don't want to be associated with negative controversy. Fans might stop supporting artists they feel have violated their values. Streaming numbers can be impacted by public perception, so even if both artists want to squash this quietly, the financial implications might force them to address it publicly. Some people are already comparing this to other famous hip-hop beefs that started over women. Drake and The Weeknd had tension over similar issues. Jay-Z and Dame Dash's friendship allegedly had complications involving relationships. Nas and Jay-Z's beef had elements of personal life getting dragged into public beef. History shows that when loyalty, ego, and romantic relationships collide in hip-hop, the fallout can last for years and produce some of the most bitter feuds in music history. Nobody wants Future and Young Thug to go down that same path, but the ingredients are all there. The footage itself keeps getting analysed like it's the Zapruder film. People are looking at body language, measuring how close they're standing, analysing facial expressions, trying to read lips, creating slow-motion breakdowns, looking for other people in the background who might provide context. The internet has turned into amateur detectives trying to solve a mystery that might not even exist. But that's what happens when you give millions of people access to the same content and the ability to share their theories instantly. Young Thug's supporters are pointing out that he's been through enough, that he just got out of an incredibly stressful legal situation that could have resulted in decades in prison, that he's trying to rebuild his life and reconnect with his kids and focus on his music, that the last thing he needs is to deal with drama involving someone he considered a friend and someone he was in a relationship with. They're arguing that if this footage is real and if it represents what it looks like, then the timing shows a complete lack of respect for what Thug has been going through. Future's supporters are pushing back hard. They're saying people are reading way too much into a short clip that shows nothing inappropriate, that two adults can have a conversation without it meaning anything disrespectful, that Future has never claimed to be a saint and that people shouldn't be surprised when he acts in character, that Young Thug doesn't own anyone and that whatever relationship status exists, it's nobody's business, that the internet is creating drama where none exists because people are bored and want something to talk about. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of all these extreme takes, but in the social media age, nuance doesn't get clicks. Balanced perspectives don't go viral. People want definitive villains and heroes. They want clear right and wrong. They want drama they can invest in emotionally without having to think too hard about complexity. So even if the reality is that this footage shows nothing significant, the narrative has already been written. Future is either a loyal brother being wrongly accused or a fake friend who crossed the line. Young Thug is either a victim of disrespect or someone whose fans are overreacting. There's no room for maybe in the court of public opinion. What happens next is anybody's guess. Maybe both artists let this blow over without ever directly addressing it. Maybe they handle it privately and move on. Maybe someone makes a statement that clarifies the situation. Maybe someone drops a subliminal diss in a song. Maybe this becomes a full-blown public beef that dominates hip-hop conversations for months. The possibilities are endless, and that's part of what makes this so compelling to watch unfold. One thing is certain though, this footage has reminded everyone that despite all the success, despite all the money, despite all the fame, artists are still human beings with complicated relationships and real emotions. They still get hurt by betrayal, they still value loyalty, they still struggle with trust issues, they still make mistakes. And when those very human problems play out on a public stage with millions of people watching and judging, the pressure becomes almost unbearable. The hip-hop community is at a crossroads with this situation. Do we treat it as entertainment and pick sides and create content and memes? Or do we recognize that real people with real relationships are involved and maybe give them space to handle their business privately? The answer probably depends on what Future and Young Thug decide to do next. If they address it publicly, then it becomes fair game for public discussion. If they keep it private, then continuing to speculate and create drama becomes disrespectful to both of them. Looking at the bigger picture, this situation represents everything that's both beautiful and problematic about hip-hop culture. The loyalty and brotherhood that makes the culture special, but also the ego and competition that can destroy relationships. The authenticity that fans demand from artists, but also the impossible standards that come with that authenticity. The transparency that social media provides, but also the invasion of privacy and constant judgment that comes with it. Future and Young Thug are navigating all of these contradictions while millions of people watch and form opinions without knowing the full story. So where does this leave us with more questions than answers? With footage that shows something but doesn't explain anything? With two legendary artists whose relationship status is now a subject of intense speculation, with fans divided and passionate on both sides, with a situation that could blow over tomorrow or could escalate into something that defines both of their legacies. All we can do is watch how it unfolds and hope that whatever happens, both artists come out of it with their friendship and their careers intact. Because hip-hop is better when legends support each other rather than tear each other down. And Atlanta deserves to see its biggest stars united rather than divided. Only time will tell which path this story takes.